Good evening. Thank you for joining us. This is Blacklight on Sports. My name is Charles Hallman,
I'm Dr. Mitchell Palmer-McDonald.
and we thank you for coming aboard with us tonight.
Now you.
Oh, hello everyone. I'm Aflakpi. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be a part of this show.
And now you're an aspiring journalist and model.
Yes, I
Now,
am.
how did you get into that?
Yeah, so it all started. I've been modeling all my life. My mom, she's an art director for Target, so I got introduced to that industry early on and I was like, "Wait, I love this. I can get paid to be in front of the camera and just look good." But then it's more to that. There's way more
There's
to
more
that.
to it than that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's actually very competitive, very hard. Like you have to make sure that you're doing the right poses, know how to move your body, make sure that you're also like social with the people on set because they don't want like a model that's just to themselves. Like growing up in high school, I was very shy. So when I would go to I've shot for Target a lot because Target,
Mm-hmm.
the headquarters are here. So in high school, I was very shy. And when I go to a shoot, I wouldn't talk to anybody and I noticed that I wasn't getting booked consistently because of it because they enjoyed models that were super talkative,
Mm-hmm.
that they could be friends with pretty much. So I was like, okay, let me stop being so shy and be more social, be more out there. And then that really helped me gain my confidence in modeling and as a person. I was like, wait, because growing up, sorry, let me step back a little bit. So growing up, I grew up in a predominantly white community, like Catholic school,
Okay.
people that didn't look like me, just
Okay.
felt very discouraged a lot. And modeling just helped me build that confidence where I was like, okay, I deserve everything I get in this world and I deserve to be where I am at right now. Like growing up, I didn't really feel like I was meant to be something great. And now
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that. But pretty much modeling helped me build my confidence. And then also, okay, so I played soccer all my life and that's how I got into journalism. I love sports journalism.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's how I got into journalism and pretty much I got injured my senior year of high school. I tore my ACL and my meniscus
Mm-hmm.
and pretty much I had to get a step away from my soccer career. I wanted to play professionally. Like my dad, he's super into soccer. He's from Ghana actually. He
Mm-hmm.
grew up playing soccer, so soccer is a big passion of mine. So I had to step away from that and I was like, how can I still incorporate soccer into my life? And that's how I stepped into that journalism field. I did newspaper in high school. I interviewed athletes. I was able to still be involved with the soccer team even though I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't play. So
How
yeah.
uh was it hard for you when you started interviewing the player? Like, you just played the sport, you're hurt.
Yeah.
Now you're still around the game, but you're interviewing people, and but they're running up and down playing. Was that a difficult time for you? And the other thing is, what high school did you go to?
Yeah, so I went to Hill Murray High School and Stillwater High
Oh,
School,
okay.
but Stillwater is when I got injured. I went there for 2 years. That's where I graduated from.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so hard for me to still be involved in soccer and in a journalism way and
Mm-hmm.
interview those players because I was like, I want to be here. I want to be on varsity. I want to
You're
be a
supposed to
part of,
be
yeah.
you're supposed to be being interviewed, huh?
Yeah, exactly. That's
Uh-huh.
what I wanted. I wanted to
Okay.
be that star soccer player on the team that's getting interviewed about how they got a hat trick, all that. Because I was
Mm-hmm.
the attacker. I love scoring. But pretty much, I just was able to realize that sometimes God, I'm very, very religious. I went to Catholic school. Sometimes you have to realize that God has a different path for you. And I still love
Mm-hmm.
to write, do journalism. And sometimes I did notice that soccer would sometimes not be the best for my mental health. And I love to play games, but practices, and it was just a very political sport as well. And I
Mm-hmm.
noticed that sometimes it felt as if people, because of my skin color, people got more of an opportunity than I did in the soccer community. And I don't know if it was because of my skin color, but I
Mm-hmm.
remember I like my junior year at Stillwater, I that's why I transferred out of Hill Murray because it felt like I wasn't being taken seriously
Okay.
at Hill Murray. But yeah, so that's why I transferred to Stillwater. And then yeah, I think I was just able to overcome the sadness of not playing the sport because I could still do it journalism wise and I just realized, like I said, to summarize, God had a different plan for me and I really love to interview people, and I met so many different people because I was able to do those interviews.
So you started out with soccer, and then how did you, how did you? I mean, you're doing basketball, you're doing everything now.
Yes.
How did that happen? How did that come about?
Well, basketball is super popular, so I just assumed that like maybe I should learn more about basketball because growing up, I never played basketball. I played 1 year in middle school. That was a terrible experience. Like it's not super aggressive when it like literally I remember somebody was defending me. I didn't even have the ball and like they would just like be elbowing me, pushing me, and I'm like falling to the ground. I'm like, I don't have the ball. Like, do they realize that? But yeah, so that's why I like got away from basketball because everyone's always like, why don't you play basketball? You're so tall because I'm like 5'11. But I'm like, no, it's not for me. But then so basketball's super popular. So I was like, let me learn this sport. Let me do some research and try and like see what other journalists do within basketball because just because I love soccer so much doesn't mean like I can't learn to love basketball in a different way because I didn't love it when I played it, but I might love it in the journalism world. So then I started to learn basketball and I was like, wait, I really love basketball and like especially I started working for Gopher Hole last season.
Mm-hmm.
I worked for the Gopher women's basketball team and I did like interviews and I was able to really like watch a whole season and follow a team for a whole season. That was my first experience. And I was like, wait, like this sport, like these girls are so passionate about this sport and it's such a hard sport. Like I remember I even got out there trying to shoot a free throw and I could not get it in there. I was like, this sport requires so much skill and it's just even like I just love meeting the girls on the Gopher team. Like that's really what made me want to keep going with basketball. Like meeting those girls, learning their story. Like it's more than just basketball to them. Like Amaya Battle, if you know who that is, she would write little notes on her shoes and like her and Kennedy. I think I can't remember her last name. Shoot.
Click.
Yes, exactly. She was injured last season. She's slowly getting back into it, but she pretty much, her and her would write little notes for each other on there. So I was like, that's so cute that they do that. And just like learning little things about the players like that is what really helped me love the sport.
Okay.
And then Travis Singleton for Sneaker Reporter, we had followed each other on Instagram and he saw the work I was doing and invited me to join him with like an internship for the Minnesota Lynx. So then that's why I was able to cover the Lynx this past season. And that was so cool. Like that was so much fun.
Now, what college did you went? What college did you go to?
Yeah, I went to Hallman University for 2 years and I actually tried to keep playing soccer. So I was going through my rehab, but I was still majoring in journalism and I was like, it's a D3 school. So I was like, okay, maybe I can make this work and still try to play soccer. And no, it didn't work. I ended up tearing my meniscus again. Like it's just so crazy how many.
The
I've
same
had
one?
4 surgeries.
The same one?
Yeah, on the same right knee. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I was like, no, I'm not meant to play soccer. So then I transferred from Hamlin to the University of Minnesota because they have a better journalism program.
Yes, they do.
Because Hamlin doesn't really have a journalism program. I had to like build it myself and like go to take classes at St. Kate's and St. Thomas. And I was like, this is too much. So I transferred to the University of Minnesota and I love the journalism program there. Like, I just feel like I had so much access to things that I never imagined. I was able to join Gopher Digital Productions, which was like the production behind all the Gopher sports. And that was so cool. Like, I joined the Student U and I was able to do sideline reporting for volleyball, soccer. Like, literally right when I joined, like a month in, they let me do everything. I was like, oh, they really believe in me, you know? Like they just had confidence in me because I noticed that like there were certain people that wanted to do it too, but like I got a lot of the shifts for like sideline reporting, and I was like, okay, they actually believe in me. Like maybe this is really what I'm meant to do, and it didn't feel like work to me. Going to the university, I was able to really like lock in on my journalism career and focus more. Like I said, working at Gopher Digital Productions, I was able to get that experience as a sideline reporter, but also do videography, also do cinema camera, also do literally work in the control room. I didn't realize I loved the control room as well, just doing graphics, crossfire, and editing. Just so much goes into the production of sports, and I just think it should be more appreciated as well, like the background that goes into sports. So I just love the university for introducing me to Gopher Digital Productions because they definitely have a big impact on my career.
What was the aha moment for you when you got to you and you started getting involved in that part of journalism program? Um, or was there any aha moment for you?
I feel like a big moment for me, that was a good question. There's a lot of moments, but a big moment was when I got to do sideline reporting, probably for the Gopher men's basketball team. And I remember I was talking to my supervisor, thinking up questions, because usually they come up with the questions and help me. And I was like, actually, I want to do it myself. And I actually came up with pretty good questions, because then I remember we usually at the end get Big Ten gives us notes about what we could do better for next time or what we did well. And pretty much they were saying like my questions were amazing and they were like super proud of what I did. And I feel like that was my moment where I was like, this is what I'm meant to do. And I felt super professional with the Big Ten microphone. And I interviewed Dawson Garcia. And he's like the star. So I was like, and I was a student, and that was my senior year. So I was like, yeah, this is big. I was like, this is what I'm meant to do. So
Now,
that's really cool.
what do you feel is more comfortable for you, in front of the camera or behind the camera?
Honestly, I like both, but in front of the camera, I feel like is where I belong, especially as a model. I feel like I'm just natural in front of the camera and I'm able to have good conversations with people where it doesn't feel like scripted or like awkward, when you're in front of the camera. I'm pretty good at being conversational.
Hmm.
So I think I'm better in front of the camera because I've noticed like some people that prefer to be behind the camera, be in the control room and not do that as much sometimes just it just feels awkward for them to be in front of that camera and they can never have that natural conversation with a person because you want to when you're talking to athletes and doing interview you don't want it to feel like staged and like oh da 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 and then like some boring answer like you want it to feel conversational. You want it to be fun.
True.
Yeah.
So now, was you able to look at other people, that's in the business, and to see some things that they were doing? Hopefully, you could incorporate some of that into your style, or were you just able to just put your style together and just go as you go?
Yeah, someone I really look up to, her name is Taylor Rooks. If you've heard of her, she's amazing. I remember I like researched everything about her, how she got to where she was, how she went to UIC and was like super involved in sports in college and she didn't like wait for an opportunity. Like she started her own little podcast or would do her own little reporting and would go to games even if it was free work. And I feel like she really inspired me to like look at journalism in a way where sometimes it's not all about the money. You need to get your voice heard or get your work out there if you're super passionate about it. Because honestly, like when I go to work, it doesn't feel like work to me. I love what I do. So honestly, since I'm at a point where I'm able to be at home and stay with my family and not really like focus on the money aspect, I'm able to actually like do the things I want to do and have that creative freedom instead of like I remember I was offered a job in Rochester for the news station and the pay wasn't the best, but it was something and I know it would have made my dad happy to take it, but I was like this is not what I want to do. I don't want to just go to a news station and do everything they tell me to do. Like I want to be my own multimedia reporter and
Mhm.
even if I have to do free work or get paid less, like it's worth it because at the end of the day, like this is something I'm really passionate about. So, yeah.
And and how all this fits in your modeling? How did that all that come together?
Yeah, so I feel like it fit in my modeling where that's why I'm able to be so natural on camera. And I feel like that also helped me be a more social person. Like, I also realized in journalism, you literally have to talk to everybody, get to know everybody. You never know who could help you along in your career, who could give you amazing advice. Like, literally just one moment could change your life. So I feel like modeling really helped me build those skills to go up to random people and be like, hey, like, I'm a reporter. I've seen the work you've done. Like, I saw Sydney Brunson, who's a play by play commentator, and I went up to her and I was like, I've seen the work you've done. And it's just like amazing to see where I am now versus like in high school. Like, I would have never done anything like that. Even like my coworkers are like, Maya, like, I see how you're always going up to reporters, like, good for you. Like, I could never do that. I'm like, no, we got to advocate for ourselves. We all got to be doing this. And I know like I said, like in high school before I really got into the modeling, like I was not like this at all. So I feel like that's how modeling has really helped with my career in journalism.
Any regrets? You talked about you had an offer to work in Rochester and you didn't take that position. I know your father probably got mad at you because
No.
you start paying rent, something like that nature. But in terms of have you thought about that, looking back and saying maybe I should have took that position?
Yeah, I definitely regret it sometimes because even though a news station is exactly what I want to do, I definitely could have learned a lot from working at the news station. And when you go into a news station, I feel like sometimes you have to, like, I feel like the best way to learn is just to be thrown into something and just like get to working right away. So I feel like that would have helped build my skills faster working at the Rochester news station. But I don't think I regret it entirely because I don't think I would have been happy. And I feel like my mental health and happiness is more important than just getting money.
Now, do you have any moments? I mean, your career's, you're young, so your career's just beginning. But were there any moments that you look back on that that you'll probably remember forever? Like, man, I got to interview this person, or I was at this game and I witnessed this, or
Yes, I like that question. So honestly, I feel like that moment for me was when I got to work the Big Ten basketball tournaments when they literally, the women and men were both here, which was wild. And then the fact that I got to cover both was a dream come true. But the fact that I got to interview Caitlin Clark in the press conferences, that was a moment where I was like, what is going on? I was like, Caitlin Clark, because I remember I watched her. I think it was 2021 when the pandemic was still very strict. Like, you'd wear a mask. Like, I remember I wore a mask to work, and Iowa was playing the Gopher women's basketball team. And I'd seen Caitlin Clark before she even had blown up. And I was like, who is this girl? Like, I was like, she is amazing. Like, just three after three after three. And this was literally before she got any type of hype. Like, I remember I started to do research on her. I was like, who is this girl? And then finally she started to get the attention she deserved. And I was like, this is just so wild to me because I feel like I've been following her journey for so long, like before the hype. And then now it's just like a full circle moment where I get to interview her in the press conference. And then I also got to interview Hannah Stelke, and nobody was asking her questions in the press conference. They were literally all asking Caitlin. And then I was like, I made sure to ask her a few questions. And then after, she came up to me and she was just like, thank you, like, pretty much, and just telling me like I'm beautiful, and I was telling her she's beautiful, and like we were able to connect. And I was just like, little things like that I noticed. And I just couldn't believe no journalist was asking her a question. And then I posted on social media the question I asked her, and then they were like, literally the fans of the Iowa Hawkeyes were like, thank you for asking Hannah a question. Like, even her dad like reposted it. It was just, that was such a beautiful moment.
Okay. Are there any more?
Yes, there's definitely more. Let me think. That's a good question.
Just maybe one or two more.
One or two more?
We'll have to go to all 10.
Okay, let me think of another moment where I was like, whoa. Honestly, I did color commentating for Aurora Soccer Club this past summer. And I feel like that, even just that whole experience, being able to be the color commentator, see myself on Fox 9, I was like, what is going on? I was like, how is my name popping up? And I have a whole microphone. Like, it was just a surreal experience. But I was like, this is what I've been preparing for 4 years, for this moment where I actually like, and the fact that Aurora had reached out to me about this position because they'd seen my work, and Olivia Putin, who works as like the communications for Gopher Sports, and I worked with her for soccer. She had like noticed that like how hardworking I am. She noticed my work and like referred me to Aurora, and just to know like I make an impact on people like that is super special to me. And I feel like that experience with Aurora and just getting to be literally with a I know they're pre-professional, but hopefully 2025 they're gonna join the National Women's Soccer League. But yeah, but right now they're not professional. But just being able to be a part of that Aurora family, going to the practices, being around the media all the time, because then Fox 9 would come, WCCO, Care 11, and just feeling like a part of a media team was just a super cool experience. And then my family being able to watch me on Fox 9, my grandma sending me like videos of me on TV. I was just like, this is just such a surreal experience. And then there's a quote that I always live by where, okay, so sometimes I get lost in the moment. I'm always hard on myself and I'm just like, I'm not doing enough, da 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 da. But then I'm just like, there's a quote, this artist who I met in LA, I go to LA a lot for modeling. I met in LA. He was telling me that butterflies apparently can't see their wings. And, you know, butterfly wings are super beautiful. So that's the same for humans. Like sometimes we don't see our wings and see how much we've evolved. And sometimes we don't appreciate our true beauty. So sometimes we just need to take a second, take a breath, and realize like how far we've come and be proud of ourselves. Because I'm so hard on myself. I'm always like, I'm not doing enough. My parents are hard on me, but that's a parent's job. But you know, just being surrounded by that, sometimes it's hard for me to really be proud of myself and realize the things I've done. So just being a part of Aurora, just looking back, like I was literally today I was editing a reel together for Aurora, like a demo reel, and I was just looking back and I was like, I can't believe I did this, but I should believe it, because what, I need to be more confident in myself. Amen.
Now,
Charles, remove your tissue, put it in your lap or something. It doesn't look good.
And when you go out to California for your jobs, is that also with Target? Is that related?
No, so I actually just signed with an agency in LA. They're called Option Agency. And Target, I do most of my Target work with Wayman Agency in Minneapolis. I've been with them since 2017. Yeah, I've been with them since 2017, and that's how I get my consistent Target gigs. But when I go to LA, I'm actually able to stay with my auntie. She's not my auntie, but she's my auntie. And pretty much I stay with her in the Hollywood Hills, and I'm able to go to castings, and I'm able to go to jobs. Like I was just booked for Bruce Glenn and Tribute Brand for LA Fashion Week, which was in the middle of November. And that was so cool. So when I flew out to her, I was actually just going out there on a limb because my agency isn't really connected with the runway. They're more like print and like commercial bookings for like Aritzia, bookings for Lululemon, like those type of brands. So when I went out there, I was just going out on a limb and seeing if I can make it happen for myself, because that's always been a dream of mine as well, to walk. I want to walk in every single fashion week, so it's going to happen. I'm manifesting it. I'm manifesting it. But so I got to walk in LA Fashion Week. That was my first one. And when I went to those castings, I actually was only supposed to go to the Bruce Glenn casting. And he has a deal or a partnership. They had Kamala Harris on their page wearing their clothes, and I was just like geeking. I was like, I can't believe I'm at a Bruce Glenn casting. Like, they're so cute. They're twin brothers. They're identical twin brothers, have pink hair. They're faith in fashion. They're super religious, and they're just super lovable people. Amazing. Everyone needs to check out Bruce Glenn. But pretty much when I went to that casting, they were super friendly. Like, I already had a feeling I was gonna get picked for this runway show. And then next to them, there was another casting happening, and I had no idea about it. And they were just about to close, and I went up to them and I was like, can I come to this casting? And they were like, yeah. And then so I go in, and pretty much they were like super excited when I walked in. And then they had me try on the clothes right away, had me walk. And then when I left, one of the interns, I had saw them when I was waiting for my Uber out in the lobby. And one of the interns was like, you were what they were waiting for all day. Like, you were their favorite, just all these things. And I was like literally about to cry, because I was just like, it's just so hard to stay motivated in modeling and journalism, such competitive fields. So for somebody like to come up and say that to me, like, I was about to cry. I was like, this is God, because I was just like so not confident about the castings, anything at all. And then for him to come out and say that to me, I was just like, I literally was about to cry.
Now, you hear all these stories about casting calls and how they, pretty much I hear mostly from, from the acting part of it. So is there, is there any, is it cutthroat in a sense when you're trying to be the only 2 or 3 models they're going to pick? Is it that cutthroat in a
Oh
sense?
yeah, it's definitely cutthroat, and I feel like the designers can sometimes be not so nice if they don't want to work with you. Like sometimes you could walk into a casting and they're like, no, thank you, and like literally won't see you at all, or just be like, we're good, like we don't need to see you at all, and like that's very like I remember when models would come out of the casting during the LA Fashion Week castings, like they were literally in tears, and I was like, "Oh my goodness." But I'm not cutthroat. So literally one of the models, she didn't have heels, and I had an extra pair of heels, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, here's my heels." Like I noticed no other model was like offering anything to her. Like she was just crying, saying she didn't have heels and nobody was helping her because she was like there with a friend talking to her friend, and like everyone could hear what was happening. And I was like, oh my gosh, like you can try my heels, the extra ones I had, and they didn't fit her. So I literally, the ones on my feet, I took them off and I was like, would these ones fit? And then they fit her, and then she was able to walk and like audition. And I feel like we can all win. Like we can all be in the show. She ended up booking the show too. I booked the show too. But I noticed that like other models are very like cutthroat, won't help other models, like won't be friendly. Like I'm super friendly when I walk in the room. I'm like, hey everyone. Like I just noticed that like in the modeling world, it's not really like that, or it feels like everyone's like against each other. And I'm like, we can literally all win, or what's meant for you is gonna happen for you. So I don't know what what it does for you to like be rude, or not even be rude, but it's just like we're all human at the end of the day. Like you never know who you like, just by saying hi to someone could literally make their day. Just being a friendly person isn't normalized anymore, and it's just kind of sad. I'm like, but also regardless, like besides the LA Fashion Week, like when I go to castings for like I just went to one for what's it called, North Face, like those jackets. um what's it called? When I went to that casting for North Face, they pretty much were like, "Oh, no, thank you." And like I walked out. But I feel like you have to not let those things affect you at all, because at the end of the day, like I said, like what's meant for you is going to happen for you. But there's definitely castings. I remember a year ago I went to a Next LA open casting. Next LA is like a agency in LA, and I went to their casting, and they were like super excited about me, all this stuff, and then I just never heard from them. It's just like modeling world is just so interesting. So
Do you think it's important for you to set a good example for other up and coming journalists and models, people that might want to follow what you're doing? How important do you think that is for you to, the word role model is overused, but to, just set an example and be an inspiration for others?
that's super important to me. Especially I've already had like young girls reach out to me on Instagram, or friends of a friend will be like, my daughter's super interested in modeling, would love to talk to you. I've had little girls who I've told them I modeled in Target. They literally have like fangirled about it, and then I was like, you should definitely model, like, to this little girl. And then her mom actually got her signed up for an agency and everything, and I could just tell, like, even though it was just like me saying like, oh, I really think you could model, and I truly believe that little girl could model, like I feel like that gave her that confidence, that little girl that confidence to really like step into it, and for her mom to like get her into it. But I feel like it's important too, because like I said, girls will reach out to me and be like, how did you get into modeling, da 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 da. And I used to do that to older girls as well, and I'd reach out to them and be like, how did you get into modeling? And I would get no answer, and I would be like, what, like why? And I just don't want to be like that. Like we can all win, and especially if I see potential in someone, I see them working hard, I see that they're genuinely passionate about modeling, I want to be able to help them and inspire them as well. And my siblings, actually I have 4 younger siblings, 2 younger sisters, and my 2 younger sisters, um all her friends follow me on Instagram, and they're like always super geeked when I like post any type of modeling thing, and they're always like, your sister is so cool, da 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 da. And I think that's just so precious that I'm able to have like an impact on the younger generation like that, and where they look up to me, and literally they'll like come over to our house to hang out with my sisters, and then they'll ask me about my modeling, and then it feels like they're just super fascinated. And I just feel like that's just so precious that I'm able to talk with these girls and give them advice and just help encourage them to know that they can do it too if they're interested in it. And in the journalism world as well, I would love to be a mentor to anybody that needs a mentor. Um, I even told Go for Digital Productions, I was like, if you ever need someone to help train the students with the student use, sideline reporting, color commentating, or just want anybody to like just be, even just be there. Because I remember when I was a student and I would do the sideline reporting, I just felt very alone. Like even when it was like my first time doing it, like I was doing it by myself, and it would have been nice to have like whether it was my supervisor or another student that's done it before to give me advice or encourage me or help me with my questions or anything of that sort. So I would just offer that to Go for Digital Productions. I was like, this is something that I wish I had, so I'm trying to offer it to them. So hopefully that works out and I could be like a mentor in the student U. But yeah.
Cool.
No, I can only imagine that in both these two, you are in two worlds that diversity isn't a big thing. Could be better. Um, is there any challenging times for you? You mentioned a bunch of them, but any challenging times when you know that the reason why you didn't get that job was because of your skin color?
Um, I feel like I definitely, so this actually recently happened. So I auditioned for Ed Hardy, if you've heard of that brand, and they had me try on the clothes and everything. Like I thought I was gonna get booked. Like they had me practice the walk, took pictures of me, everything. And then I ended up not getting picked, and I was super upset about it. And then I ended up looking at all the models they casted, and it was just a bunch of like white girls, white guys, and then they did have some black people, but I noticed that like they didn't want to have multiple that looked the same. Like there was a light-skinned girl with hair like mine, and that was the one that they're choosing. You know what I mean? Instead of having two, then they can only have one. And then there was a dark-skinned man that was a model, but there was only one, and then the rest was all white men. So I just feel like I've noticed that in the modeling world, sometimes they want diversity but not too much, and that's just very disappointing. But that's not every brand or designer, but I've noticed that that is definitely an issue in the modeling world, where it's like they can have a bunch of like I don't know how to say it, but they can have like a bunch of blonde hair, blue-eyed girls, or with like whiter skin, but then they can only have like two light-skinned girls with cornrows or two light-skinned girls with an afro. And I feel like that's just upsetting to me, because then I'll like ask the agencies like why, because I've been applying to New York agencies because I want to move to the New York market now. And I'll ask them, I'm like, why aren't you picking me, or like why can't I join your agency? Do you have any feedback? And then they'll just say like, you have a great look, just keep applying to other agencies. So I'm like, okay, so then it's what I thought, to believe that pretty much there's too many, like, or not too many, but you already have your one light-skinned girl and that's enough for them. And I'm just like, it's just disappointing. And then in the journalism world, I feel like I've noticed it can be an issue even as just being a woman in itself. I've had issues where people don't think, oh, you're not supposed to be in this area, da 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 da. And I'll literally have to like hold up my badge, and I'm like, hello? Like, I'm literally supposed to be here. And then they're like, oh, sorry. And I'm like, what made you think that? Why didn't you go up to that white man over there? Why did you go up to me? And I'm just like, oh, I have to look in the mirror and realize why. Sometimes I forget. But it's just sad that I have to think that way, you know? But I feel like there hasn't been a situation where it flat out is like obvious, you know, like where I could like say like, oh, they didn't hire me for this job because I'm black or because of the color of my skin, you know? But I feel like there's definitely instances where I'm like, oh, I'm being treated this way, and they're not treating this person this way. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you can kind of, it all adds up.
Mm.
We know what's going on.
Oh yeah, we still deal with it.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
We still do after all
It's a
these
sick,
years. Yeah.
it's sick. It's just sad because you think we've come so far, and then like little moments like that happen, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh
like,
yeah.
Yeah, that's well, we normally on our podcast we always offer our guests an opportunity to speak to our listeners, our viewers, in their own way, sharing words of wisdom, sharing pearls of wisdom, we call it. You have said a lot of things that I think that has been really helpful, especially for young girls. I think to hear you say things that I don't think they will, to hear you say you want to be a mentor, I think that was very eye opening, even for me to hear you say that and hearing that you didn't have a mentor, but you want to be one. Really, so we give you the opportunity now to speak to our audience and share what you want to share with them.
oh, thank you. I really appreciate you saying all of that. Okay, so honestly, the biggest thing to me, the biggest piece of advice that I could give to the audience is to just always advocate for yourself, because I feel like no one's gonna believe in you the way that you're gonna believe in yourself. And even in the modeling world, I have an agency, but I'm still my own boss at the end of the day. I can still go out there and look for jobs. I can still advocate for myself, message people. Like, just because I have an agency, the work isn't done. You still have to always be advocating for yourself, still always getting your name out there, still always sharing your photos of jobs you've done, because then how will anyone see the work you've done if you're not posting it? So, honestly, just always believing in yourself is the most important thing, because at the end of the day, no one's going to care about you the way you care about yourself. So, just keep advocating for yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we usually do this in closing, so we want to thank you for finally being our guest.
I'm sorry.
It took us a minute. It took us a minute, but we made it.
I know
We
I'm a
made it.
mess.
We
I'm a
made,
mess.
no, it's not that. We are all a mess. We all have things that we have to do, and life gets in the way, and those things happen. So when I mean finally, we're just glad that we had you.
I know, I'm so
Come
happy
on.
to be here.
Yeah.
This has been such a great experience, and you
Yeah.
guys are legends. So I'm in royalty right now, in the presence of royalty, Hall of Fame right here.
Yeah. That's
No,
right, man. You can't Hall of Fame, man. You can't let that go.
never. That's
Not-
such an amazing accomplishment.
Not at all. But we wish you well. We hope you keep on keeping. And we're probably we are gonna probably have you again
Oh my gosh, I would love to
as
be on here again.
as time
Yeah.
goes on. So
Yes. Oh.
just want to thank you for being here.
Of course, thank you for having me. And I love always, every time I see you guys at anything I'm covering, like the Lynx games, when I saw you at Aurora, like it literally makes me so happy. Like I go from 0 to 100, I'm like, oh, my energy is up. Like, I don't know, just something about you guys is just super comforting. Just being in an environment where it's all older white men or just people I don't know, and that, like, just to know you guys just makes me feel way more comfortable.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
You made our day. I appreciate that. Well, we thank you for joining us on Blacklight on Sports. My name is Charles Hallman.
I'm Dr. Mitchell Palmer-McDonald.
We ask you to join us, read us in our newspapers, and we do have a newsletter now. I heard that you can join us as well, but we want you to continue to come and join us in our next episode. Thank you very much.
Yes.